Hi, I'm Matthew Royer.
And I'm Benjamin Royer.
Today we're with Justin Upton,
outfielder for the Los Angeles Angels.
This is
Twinger Talk.
Thank you for sitting down with us, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's just get to the questions, okay? What was it like to play against and with your brother?
I think playing with my brother was the most fun I've had in my career. At the time, he was, at a different point in his life. He had just had my nephew a few years before, so I got to spend more time with my family. We were close to my parents. My parents were in town a lot, so I enjoyed that a lot. I think competing against my brother was, is what it was. We competed against each other growing up, constantly in the backyard and stuff. So it was kind of still that sibling rivalry, but for the most part, we just had fun with it.
So here's the 0-2 on Upton.
The base hit the left. Here comes Chris Young. Drive home safely.
So you were the first pick in the 2005 MLB draft. What kind of pressures and what did you feel like you had to live up to being that first pick?
I was kind of naive at the time. I thought I was good and that I was just going to go out and play. I think the further along you get, you feel a little bit more pressure, but I'm my biggest critic. So living up to my standards and playing up to my standards was probably the toughest thing. I put more pressure on myself than anybody else could. As
a high schooler, when you were drafted, you converted from shortstop to outfield. What was that transition like?
Well, 2006, I actually went into spring training as a shortstop. I felt like I was making pretty good progress and ended up getting injured. I hurt my shoulder, probably 2 weeks before we broke camp. So that kind of stunk, but at the time they came to me and said that, they were kind of thin in the outfield and that, they thought that, a quicker route for me to get to the big leagues was in the outfield. So at the end of the day, I said, okay, if that's a quicker route, I'll take it. So, you learn to play different positions on the field anyways. So I think for the most part, just getting used to being out there was the biggest thing. So the transition went pretty smooth.
Breaking balls out toward deep left. Mancini racing back. This one is gone. Big fly for Justin Upton. 3-run shot, 7-1 Halos.
So in 2012, you rejected a trade to the Seattle Mariners. What went through your head at where you were at in your career, and what went into your decision?
Well, I loved playing in Arizona. That was home for me. I started to live there. That was the organization I came up in. I knew all the coaches. I knew everybody, and that was just my comfort zone. And being still that young and that early in my career, I didn't think that change was. I was ready for that change. I think I ended up getting traded to Atlanta late in that off season, but things happen for a reason. I ended up playing 2 years with my brother, and I think that decision, I still stand by it.
As a teenager, you played with David Wright, Ryan Zimmerman, just to name a few. How was it then facing them in the major leagues?
Yeah, playing with those guys early on, I got to see them develop as players, and those were kind of the guys I was chasing. Being 3 years younger than them, they were playing at a higher level than me at all times. So I wanted to get to the level that they were at, and then finally getting to square off with them in the big leagues. It was a lot of fun. It was like a dream come true, honestly. You very rarely do guys get to play against people they grew up with in the big leagues. So. We enjoy it, and still to this day, when we see each other on the baseball field, we enjoy it.
You're a baseball player in the MLB, which is pretty cool. But if you were not in the MLB, what would you want to do?
It's a tough question. Honestly, if I didn't make it in the MLB, I think I'd probably be coaching baseball somewhere, hopefully the collegiate level or something like that. But at this point in my life, I'd like to say that I'd be a professional golfer, but I doubt that would have happened either. So, golf's my second sport at this point.
This past offseason, you re-signed with the Angels after being traded there from Detroit. What was that like making the decision to re-sign with the Angels for the long term?
Yeah, the first thing I thought about was my family. You know, we reside in Arizona, so you know it's close to home. And when I first walked in this clubhouse, like, you know, the guys kind of, you know, accepted me right away. You know, I was one of the guys right away, and you know that's one of the things you look for when you're, you know, you got to go out and, you know, play with these guys for 200 days out of the year. You want to be in a place that you're comfortable and enjoy playing. And the last month here, even though we came up short of the playoffs, was some of the most fun I've had in baseball in a long time. So, you know, it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
You've been an All-Star 4 times throughout your career, and what is it like being an All-Star, playing with all those guys, and what is it like with the All-Star festivities before the All-Star game?
Well, anytime you're an All-Star, it's an honor. It means you're playing at a pretty high level. So I try to enjoy each All-Star game I go to. The biggest thing for me, I think, is you compete against guys, you know, all year long, and it's the one time that you're all on the same team. And you know, when you're in the clubhouse, you kind of get to know the guys, and you know, you enjoy those times, you remember those times, and you know, as far as the festivities, I mean, that MLB always does everything kind of top notch. So those are great events to be a part of.
Growing up, did you have a baseball player that you looked up to, like your favorite baseball player of all time?
Man, my favorite players were Ken Griffey Jr. I was a shortstop, so Derek Jeter was another guy that I watched a lot. He was probably one of my favorite players also. But I was a baseball rat. You know, I loved the guys. I loved watching every game that was on TV. And growing up in Virginia, we always watched the Braves and the Cubs because it was on national TV. So, you know, you watch the guys like Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, those guys growing up.
So let's do a few rapid-fire questions. I'll ask one, and then my brother will ask one.
Okay.
Okay, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Pizza.
Favorite music?
Rap.
Favorite movie?
Gone in 60 Seconds.
TV show?
Sons of Anarchy.
What is your pre-game ritual that you do every day?
I'm not a superstitious person, so there's nothing that I do every day.
What's your favorite sport besides baseball?
Football.
And if you have a favorite football team, what is it?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, for the last question, what is your favorite moment of your baseball career?
Favorite moment of my baseball career, 2007. We're up 2-0 in the playoffs against the Chicago Cubs. We got a chance to close out the series, and there was 2 times in that game in Wrigley Field where we were leading and the Cubs had the bases loaded and they could have taken the lead, and we got out of both situations. But still to this day haven't heard a ballpark that loud in my life, and I'll never forget how loud Wrigley Field was.
Thank you.
All right, welcome, fellas.
Thank you, Justin.
Welcome.
I'm Matthew Royer.
I'm Benjamin Royer, and this has been Twinger Talk.